Instead of just relying upon our own strength, devotees of the Divine Mother Kali, we can offer up our attachments, our desires to her. She has that skirt of, severed arms. Those are actions that her devotees have offered up to her. They can be, actions like, I was gonna have another beer, but now, well, or, hey, I'm gonna quit smoking, or I've been eating way too much sugar recently. Something as simple as those things. We tend to think of like the bigger things, like I'll never hit somebody else again, or I'll never get in a fight again, something violent like that, or I'll never eat meat again. I'll never be a part of that, or I'll never. It could be anything that like these big things where it's like I'll never do that again, or it could be small things, but it could also be things like, hey, I'm gonna dedicate this amount of time to her every day. I'm gonna do this puja for her, this devotional activity, burning ghee, or saying mantras, repeating mantras for her, making food, offering it to her, or I'm gonna meditate and say her name mentally as I breathe in, Kali, as I breathe out, Kali, just saying it mentally. Things like that. They could be things that we offer up because, by our own strength alone, we don't feel like we can do it. So help me process this. Help take this away from me, Ma. Kali, please, help me to quit this. Help me to stop doing that. And she can process things a whole lot more than we can. That's why, when she killed that demon, Rakta Bija, she was the only one, when he would bleed, a single drop of his blood, a new demon was brought up. But his head was cut off and she drank all his blood. She could process it. None of the other gods could process it. None of the other goddesses or gods could process it. Only Kali could process that blood. And so that it didn't become more evil in the world. So that it didn't become another desire, for instance, or more desires on a personal level. That's Rakta Bija is kind of like thought of as desire, but also in a more macro level, taking this something that we might do to other people, like being selfish towards other people or being cruel to other people, that is an evil that can create other evils in the world. We can offer that up to her, and then she can process that instead of allowing it to become another evil. Process that cruelty, saying, I'll never be cruel in this way again, offer it up to her so that it doesn't become more cruelties from our cruelty in the world. But she can process these things. And it's strange, but I've used this analogy before that it's almost like the symbolism is very definite. It has to be symbolism because she's decorating herself with good actions that we've done, and that might not always be the case. Maybe a lot of people understand it as bad actions. Like she decorates herself with these severed things that will never become another bad thing again. But why is she covered in, she's still covered in, bad stuff, even through the symbolism. But no, she's proud of us. It's almost like she's putting macaroni heart on the fridge or something as a proud mom. She's like, look what I've look what my devotee, or look what this human being, or any other kind of being, has given me, so that it does not create more suffering in the world, so that it does not hold them back anymore if it's some kind of attachment to something. Look what my children have done. They've given me this so that it'll never trouble them again. She can process it. And if it's a good action, if you understand it as, good actions dedicated towards her, look how much my children have tapped into love. And it's not love for the eye, because Kali doesn't, she's not the I frequencies. There's no pride. There's no ego. There's no I'm better than you. A lot of people think that Kali standing on Shiva she's saying she's dominating Shiva. That couldn't be further from the truth. Now, while Kali she empowers, feminine identity and female women. She empowers women, but it's definitely more about equality, and it's definitely more about not allowing oppressive or abusive people to step on you, or people that think that you're lesser to make you feel like you're lesser. But it's definitely about that. But it's about equality overall. not having to be dominant over somebody else, whether you're male or female. But Shiva laying down and her stepping on her, she sticks out her tongue, not to drink blood or anything, like she sticks out her tongue because she's like, ooh, I messed up. Because while she's processing, Rakta Bija, in the story, the whole, that part of her stepping on Shiva comes from the story of her drinking Rakta Bija's blood so that no more demons would spring out from her, or out from Rakta Bija and his blood, because every time a blood drop would drop, another demon would come up. But that's the story that this comes from. But Shiva's like, none of the other gods could stop her. None of the other gods could, after she had killed so many demons. In some tellings of the story, the demons are retreating. In other tellings, she started to see how even the Deves, even a lot of the gods, were actually dominating people, hurting people. Or she saw how flawed they were, just like the demons were flawed. And we're talking about, if we think of this retelling a story, she's slaying like the demigods. She's not like slaying like Vishnu or Shiva or Brahma. She's slaying those demigods who are like those Deves who are very close to demons and some of their selfishness and some of their even pride and ego. But in that understanding of it, Shiva's like, okay, enough's enough. Either because she just keeps on killing the demons, because even though they're running away, even though they're retreating, or she starts killing Deves because they've done a lot of bad stuff too, or in some retellings, she's just kicking the bodies and just still furious and just kicking the bodies of the demons, just angry about what they've done to humanity, what they've done to her children. She just keeps on kicking them. But for whatever reason that Shiva lays down, he lays down and she steps on him, and she's like, and she realizes that she stepped on Shiva, and she sticks out her tongue, because that's a symbol in India for having said something wrong or done an improper action. There's a whole lot of symbolism behind it as well that's even deeper than that symbolism. So for Hindus, for a lot of Hindus, not all Hindus, especially those, South India, or those who are Shaktas, or those who really look up to Devi. There's more Devi temples, goddess temples, than male temples, Deva temples in India, by the way. But when she's stepping on Shiva, she is the animating principle. She is the animating force in this world. Unlike Abrahamic traditions or other religions, she is the energy, and Shiva is the material. Usually in other traditions or other religions, like the female is the matter. The female is the material to be enlivened by the male. But here, she is that force that enlivens. She is what other religions would call, the masculine aspect. It's almost like she's inside the matter. She's inside Shiva in a way, but she's the enlivening force. And there's also this, and bring something animate. By the way, in the astral realm, it's understood, that while she is the enlivening force here, she is the energy. She is Shakti here in the material realms. In the astral realms, she's actually the material, whereas Shiva is the enlivener, is the energizer. So in various realms, it gets stacked and changed in role. And these are deeper levels of understanding of gender, but also energy, matter, and energy and matter, and how matter is a more stationary form of energy, but matter and energy are both the same thing. Matter is ultimately just a slower form of energy, and it just changes places as you go through, material, astral, causal, what have you. But it's also understood as that, which also makes sense, because my vision of her in the astral realm is she has a planet in her lap, and while she's made of light energy, she is pretty stationary, though she's like kind of moving, but regardless, she's very big, this light being. She does not look like the pictures, that these are all they're all symbolic. But yeah, so she steps, and she could also represent Kundalini, going up the spine, which is usually considered as feminine, going between the Ida and Pingala Nadis, and the spinal columns, Kundalini rising up through the chakras towards moksha, towards liberation. So there's a whole lot of things that her stepping on Shiva means. it's not, it could, female empowerment as well, but it's not about domination. She's not dominating Shiva. But Shiva's willing to, lay down and go through this for the sake of he's the only one that can bring her around in the story. And, there's different levels of that. But so, she clothes herself. She's angry because of what the demons have done to her children, to what how they've held humanity back. So she's angry on this battlefield. She clothes herself, in good deeds, but also in, even the heads around all the necklace of heads. Those are, devotees that have surrendered their pride, surrendered their ego. She clothes herself in our accomplishments. And ultimately, that's what makes up her clothes. And her hair is unbound, wild, and she's only clothed in that. She's not clothed in anything else. She is not dominated societally. She's a goddess of outcasts and men and women of realization, of enlightenment, of moksha, because she is not bound by society. Usually in society, women should wear way more clothes, but she just wears the clothes of the accomplishments of her devotees, of humanity, of her children, of what they've overcome, and the good things that they've done. That's the only thing that clothes her. She doesn't need all these extra things that society might give. That's what she clothes herself with. So there's a whole lot of information. There's a whole lot of symbolism. But she is the goddess of freeing ourselves from attachment, freeing ourselves from material validation and comfort in favor of tapping into the grander frequency that is oneness, that is every Atman becoming Brahman, becoming soul, that she is also Brahman for Shaktas, for us. We believe that she is the universal soul, that everything's a part of, that everything is just working back to realizing itself. But yeah, so she's a goddess of freedom from attachment and moksha, liberation. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. This is the end of this particular segment. And Ma Kali is beautiful, wonderful, and the more you understand her, the more that you realize that she is the one that we are all a part of.